Translate, Mr. Rip.
Sí.
Go.
We're ready to go.
Do you have any guests online?
Right now, no.
Who's guests not with us? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order on Tuesday, June 13th. It's the second meeting this month of the Board of Directors of Saybrook Charter School. And I'd like to record the attendance. We do have a quorum with Mr. Gershon Paris, Mr. Larry Valavi, Dr. Roberto Portillo, and myself, Michael Jones, the chair. Oh, did you start recording?
I did.
All right. Also joining us is head of school, Mr. Josh Ripp, and Director Rachel Pedley. And also in attendance, we have también en asistente tenemos.
Zelda González.
Thank you. All right. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda. Any discussion or questions regarding the agenda?
I do have one item. I had a report and a approval item for dashboard local indicators, and I'd like to just remove the report and make that report when we go to the action items for the dashboard local indicators. So I would request the board to strike the report for dashboard local indicators because we can talk about it during action items.
Okay, I remember that. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion approved. Second. Dr. Portillo makes a motion. Mr. Valavi approves. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. The approval of the agenda is unanimous. We now move to the public comment part of the agenda. You want to translate what I just did?
Sure. So, ellos aprobaron la agenda para hoy. Ahora es una oportunidad de hablar. El público puede hablar sobre cualquier tema que no está en la agenda.
Okay. Anything for public comments? Hearing none, we will then move to number 4, which is closed session. Which is student discipline case number 06092023. Are we going to stay here? Or are we going?
We're going to go into my office for closed session. Okay. Vamos a ir a mi oficina para hablar sobre este tema.
you and try to get across the ideas that go along with a graduation, and then we have to.
Yeah,
You're dealing with phone calls, explaining that stuff. Where's Becky?
downstairs.
You're back. Going? Alrighty, so we have nothing to report from closed session. And we will now also skip over section 5, dashboard local indicators, because we're going to address that in an action item down below. And so we will now go to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions about the consent agenda or anything they want to pull out to or for discussion? Hearing nothing, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you, Larry. Mr. Valabi, and second, Dr. Portillo. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion to approve the consent agenda passes unanimously. This takes us right down to action items. Mr. Rip.
Okay, so our first action item today, thank you, Michael, is a Lunch Master contract extension. Lunch Master is our lunch vendor. Basically what they do is they drive prepackaged foods down from San Jose daily, and we warm those in our warming oven for our students. And we have a contract with them in which they bring us breakfast and lunch. And they're now going to be offering snacks as well. The rates for 23-24 are staying at $225 for breakfast. They're staying at $350 for lunch. And then $105 is the snack rate, going up from 98 cents. So I'm asking the board to approve Saba's contract with our Lunch Master vendor.
The last time I remember talking about lunches, I thought we were getting service from Nob Hill. Am I imagining that?
We had Revolution Foods before Lunch Master, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were associated with Nob Hill Catering,
No, Nob Hill, no,
the grocer,
no.
but we've been with Lunch Master now since I want to say 2018, 2019. So there's always some push that we want to move to a position where we prepare the lunches daily at Saba. And I'm willing to explore that, but we're not in a position now to move to that with school starting in 2 months. So I'm requesting that the board approve the contract extension for the with Lunch Master for the 23-24 school year.
Do the kids like the food?
I'd say it was very popular when we first started, and I think the popularity has declined. I'm actually surprised at the number of students who come to school and don't eat all day until they go home. So I'd say there's probably a good 30% of students at least who are in that situation. Students can bring their own lunches from home, and some of them do that.
So the popularity has declined, has the quality declined?
I think it depends on which lunch you're talking about. So there's still some hits. I think the pizza is still relatively popular. The sun butter jelly sandwiches are still popular, but there's other places or dishes that are not so popular.
Can you not choose to not order the bad ones?
They always give you options, and we try to do the best we can when we make those orders.
Alrighty, is there a motion to approve the Lunch Master contract? Thank you, Grisham. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Valabi seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, on to the family handbook.
Okay, so I am requesting that the Saba Board of Directors approve our 23-24 family handbook. We've made a few changes to it, and I've got the changes listed here. Attached to the agenda is the actual handbook as well, but I thought it'd be easier just to go through the changes. So we reviewed language around COVID for the 23-24 school year. If some other pandemic is to start, we can go back and add policies back in the handbook should need be. Saba is also, we've had a lot of discussion around junk food, specifically around what is defined as junk food. So I think everyone would say everyone needs to eat healthy, but let's say that a student chooses not to eat the Lunch Master food and their parents want to bring them their lunch. Okay, they brought in a sack lunch with sandwiches, nobody's going to bat an eye. If they bring in a burrito, seems reasonable. Is that junk food? Some people say no, some people say yes. Okay, then we jump to McDonald's. Okay, everyone would probably say, okay, well, McDonald's is junk food. So that definition of what is junk food and what is not junk food is not something I want to be involved in intimately. So we'll have different rules around. I mean, you have to bring, if you're going to bring your lunch, you need to bring it from home. in a rare occasion that you forgot it and your parent would like to bring it, they need to bring it to the front office. We're just gonna leave it at that. So that junk food policy is being removed for that reason. The third change is loaner Chromebooks and chargers. So students will sometimes forget their Chromebooks at home or forget their chargers. And then they would like to request one. And we've kind of been doing this for off and on for at least the last quarter, where students have to give something of value to get a loaner Chromebook or charger, which is usually cell phone or AirPods. And so now I'm putting into the handbook that if a student wants to loan a Chromebook, they need to give us their cell phone until they're done with their loaner Chromebook, and then they get their cell phone back. So that's now in the handbook for the 23-24 school year. The fourth change is eligibility. So there was we had eligibility this year, and I think in some ways it worked and sometimes it did not work. So we're trying to tighten the challenges that we had with eligibility. The first one, eligibility can be broken down in 3 parts. The first one is academics. We're keeping the 2.0 GPA minimum the same. That's stated by the sports organization that we're part of, and for students to participate in interscholastic athletics, they need to have a 2.0 GPA. And then we do those checks at the midpoint in the quarter and the end of the quarter. So in the handbook, we say August 25th is the midpoint of quarter 1, then we'll do it at the end of quarter 1, and then the midpoint of quarter 2 is November 17th, and so on. So that's staying the same. What's changing though is students that had below a 2.0 this year could show that they were trying to get their grades up by saying, I'm consistently going to Fast 40, and have their teacher sign off on their intervention. Like, oh, okay, well, you've been going, and even though you don't have a C, I'll still sign off on that. And that I felt like the teacher's in an awkward situation, because they'll say, okay, well, I'll just sign it, even though you have below a 2.0 or an F in my class. And so we're changing it just to say, if you have below a 2.0 and you want to participate in sports, you need to show us a screenshot of your grades being above 2.0 after the date in which we checked. So let's say that little Jose here is working on his grades, and he has 1.5 GPA. We're going to say, okay, you cannot participate in soccer games or basketball games until you get your grades up. And then the next grade check is not till the end of the quarter. But in the interim, if he comes in to speak with the athletic director or with me, and he says, hey, look, I've got my grades up, I'll show you right now, then you can participate again. So that's the new policy for the 23-24 school year. And we'll explain all this during orientation when the families return.
So would it help if you called that probation?
Well, that's a good suggestion.
I mean, districts typically do that.
Okay,
There's a probation. If you dip below a 2.0, there's a probationary period you have to
get the
look at
grades up.
back up before 2.0. And if you have 2 probationary periods, you're done.
Okay,
I mean,
All
then it means you can't play. You
yeah,
can't-
yeah,
you can't
okay.
participate.
Well, I guess we can call it probation is what we could say in the intro.
It's a word that carries some weight with kids that'll understand.
Yeah, thank you.
So during the probation, they'll continue to be able to play.
No,
Correct.
Just under the.
And that's,
in our policy, if you're below 2.0, you will not be able to play. And to be totally clear, that is the California Interscholastic Federation
Correct.
rule. Okay.
Okay.
So I think what the schools have flexibility in doing is deciding when those grade checks are going to occur.
correct.
Yeah.
And I believe, again, I'm dealing with stuff that's 7 or 8 years old. But CIF rules allow for a probation period.
Okay. That, yeah,
Don't remember how long and what it means, but there is a probation
all right,
allowed.
okay. But I think in Saba's case, you know you're below, and all you gotta do is go get working on getting your grades up, and then you can become eligible again by just showing us that you've got your grades back up. All right, behavior. So behavior, we have a system called Educator's Handbook, and there is basically a behavior tracking system in which anybody in the school can log an office referral or a minor incident. This year, we tried to give more weight to what was going into Educator's Handbook. So if you had over 11 minor incidents or over 3 office referrals, you were ineligible for sports and extracurricular activities. for your behavior in school. There was a lot of inconsistency around the use of educator's handbook. And what I mean by that is some people put in every single, whether it's minimal or serious, into educator's handbook every day. Other people don't put anything in. So if I'm going to go to somebody and say, hey, you've not consistently worn your uniform, but there's a few other things you're not allowed to play, but somebody else who we all know never wears their uniform, but they've not had their referrals written in, it's not a good source of data to make that decision. So this year, we're going to tighten it up a little bit, and we're going to say, for behavior, oh, there's a typo there. For behavior, what you have to have is no suspensions within the previous 4 weeks, because I know with the suspension, we're going to investigate and we'll have all the facts around it. So if you are suspended, you're ineligible for 4 weeks. And otherwise, it's going to be a decision on behalf of the administrators. And prior to us making somebody ineligible, we need to have a parent meeting with the parent and the student and possibly the teacher involved to give them notice. Okay, if this behavior continues to occur, you will become ineligible. So that's what we're moving to. So that's the behavior change. And then finally, attendance was a third area. And this year we had it really simple. It's just if you're have an unexcused absence the day of the extracurricular activity, you cannot participate. This next year, it's that same rule. Plus, if you have 3 or more unexcused absences within a quarter, if you have 3 or more cuts within a quarter, which is you're out of school for out of class for greater than 15 minutes, or students with 9 or more tardies within a quarter are also going to be ineligible. Students may clear a tardy by attending a reflection after school the day that they're tardy. And so that's the change for attendance. The reason we're doing this is we had a lot of tardies, both in the morning, even though we've moved our starting time back to 8:30, but also throughout the day, especially after lunch. And so we're hoping that this will provide yet another incentive for the students to get to class on time. We think it's a reasonable number. There's 9 to 10 weeks in the quarter, so we are giving space to be tardy once a week if it should come to it, and you have the opportunity to erase that tardy if you just go to the reflection. Let's see if there's traffic coming to school or whatnot. So that's the third prong of the eligibility that's changing. And then finally, this year we had in the handbook, it said tardies, lates, and unexcused absences, and a tardy was anything 6 minutes or less late to class, and a late was 7 to 15 minutes, and then a cut was greater than 15 minutes. But we weren't tracking lates, or there was no significant difference between a late and a tardy. So we're removing that word late, and it's just going to be if you're tardy, it's 1 to 10 minutes, and a cut will be anything after 10 minutes. And so that could be you're greater than 10 minutes to school. That's going to be considered a cut, or you asked to use the restroom and you're just out wandering the hallways for greater than 10 minutes. That will also be considered a cut. And that's important because if you have over a certain number of cuts, then you can become ineligible for dances and sports, like we talked about earlier.
It says that their student arrives after 8:30 a.m., 8:36 a.m. Is there some?
That's the old, so the left-hand column is 22-23 and 23-24 was the new policy. So it's now going to say it starts at 8:30, student shall be marked tardy if the student arrives between 1 and 10 minutes late. That will be 1 tardy, you get 9 per quarter. A cut is if you're greater than 10 minutes late to class, or you leave class for greater than 10 minutes without a valid excuse. So I think it simplifies the language.
So the limit is actually 8:40 a.m.
Well, no, you're still tardy. You're tardy at 8:31.
Okay.
And that tardy matters, because if we do that, then we might as well start at school at 8:40. So the cut is a more serious offense than a tardy. The tardy, you get 9 per quarter. If you cross that threshold, you become ineligible.
But that says if you come in at 8:39, you're still tardy.
Right. So, well, you get 9 of those, and then you become ineligible. So let's say you did that. Let's say you came in 9 minutes late in the morning, and then you also were tardy to blocks 3 and 4. That's 3. You only get 9, and then once you cross over that 9 threshold, you
Ah.
can no longer participate in
Okay.
sports, yeah. And then the cut is, if you have 3 cuts, then you're becoming eligible. Did you want me, you have a recommended change for that?
No, I see that they accumulate,
Okay.
831 accumulates, so
Yeah,
still marked as a tardy.
correct. And that's because like, I get your point, like it really starts at 8:40, but I don't want to do that because we want everyone in their seats learning.
I
at
would say
8:30.
just say it's 8:30.
And then it is, so we're just clarifying, tardy is 1 to 10 minutes, cut is greater than 10 minutes.
So they have 9 opportunities to
To correct
figure
that.
things out, and
Yes.
so that's nice.
And to be super clear, we looked at other comprehensive high schools, handbooks and making these changes. So this is consistent. They had different numbers, but it was consistent with Aptos, Watsonville and Hollister High Schools, looked at theirs, and they have some language similar to this. So I am requesting that the State Board of Directors approve the 2023-24 handbook.
Any other questions for Mr. Rip? Do I have a motion to approve the student or the family handbook?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Dr. Portillo makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? 1 second. Thank you, Mr. Valabi. Mr. Valabi seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Not hearing any, the motion to approve the family handbook passes unanimously. And now on to the staff handbook.
Okay, so for this one, this is, the staff handbook goes over what the expectations are for all of our, 60-person SAVA staff. And there's just a few changes for the equal employment opportunity change. We're adding, reproductive health decision-making as a protected category.
What does that mean?
So what that means is that if you are making a decision about your reproductive health, we cannot discriminate against you for that reason. So we would never do that anyways, but now it's going to be in writing.
So if somebody decides that they are going to get pregnant, that can't be held against them.
Correct. Or they decide to, in the pregnancy, they need some time off from work, that also cannot be held against them. And they normally would never even share this anyways, because it's private information, but. So a lot of these come from just recommended changes from our legal.
State.
All right, harassment, and then, if so, we cannot, no one can be harassed at SABA. So that's a reproductive health decision making is a protected category and name change of California Civil Rights Department. Who would oversee that. Lactation accommodation. If a person is in need of lactation accommodation, which we have a lactation room, we will engage in an interactive process to determine what the needs are. So that would probably look like times of day, refrigeration, whatnot. So the interactive process is common for any type of employee issue. And so we're just adding that lactation accommodation is another reason that the staff can enter into an interactive process with administration.
What if there's nobody lactating on campus? What happens to that room? Does it just sit there unused?
No, it's honestly used for as an additional lunchroom because there's a sink in there. So it's gotten plenty of use, but then, you know, if we knew that somebody needs to be in there at a certain time, it's got privacy for that. Okay, attendance and punctuality. Employees are expected to work as scheduled. Absences are protected by state, local, federal regulations, not counted as violations. So the time to work at SABA is 8:15 to 3:30. It's 15 minutes before and after the start of the school day. School day is from 8:30 to 3:15. And so the expectation is that they are there. But they also can use their 10 days of sick leave or of leaves, not specifically sick leave, at any time that they need, and that's protected by regulations.
So during the workday, say between those times, let's say it's their lunch break or something. So it's their lunch break, they can go do whatever they want,
Correct.
because it's their time.
That is
During a
correct.
break,
like, let's say they're on their prep period, the rule right now is you can take up to 2 hours without reporting it. If you're gone for greater than 2 hours, then you need to report out that you're gonna use 2+ hours. Plus more than 2 hours for whatever it is that you need to do. All right, next one is time records. Add work performed before and after regular work schedule must be approved in advance. Errors in time records should be recorded immediately, so that's for hourly employees. We've had some challenges with just approval time, so it's like we need it in the moment. I myself have been the cause of that a few times where it's like, oh, we've got an event or something and I need somebody else here, so we just want to work to make sure that these overtime requests are approved in advance prior to people having overtime. Meal and rest periods. Supervisor may schedule meal and rest period. Employees may leave school site during rest periods. So that's being added to the handbook. FMLA, CFRA, we're adding that family member definition of CFRA to include designated person and limit one designated person per 12-month period. Changing will to may regarding school assumption of employee resignation if employee does not return to work at the end of week. Bereavement leave, we're adding 5 minutes of bereavement leave requirement, 3 days paid, 2 days unpaid, 5 days paid if funeral is over 500 miles. So all of these are just legal obligations. Sick leave, we're adding that a family member definition for California healthy workplaces to include designated person and limit one designated person per 12-month period. Teacher sick leave. Contracts were changed to 8:15 to 3:15, a 7-hour workday. Employees will have 10 days of sick leave or 70 hours. Cell phone policy, we're adding that an emergency condition is permissible reason to allow employees to use personal devices during the school day. So this is an obligatory item that has to be added for businesses around the state, that you have to have an emergency condition in your staff handbook that staff can use their cell phones for emergency purposes. So, and this also applies to schools. So like private companies, say Google, or they'll also have to add a policy on something to this.
So does that mean that that there are ways that an employer can constrain how the employee is using their cell phone?
Yeah, like if I went down and I saw, say, people at the front that need to be greeting guests and parents and students, I need them engaged in doing that and not on their phones at that time. But if they need to use it for an emergency condition, then they are permitted to use it. Okay, 3 more. Non-exempt employee meal period waiver agreement. Waiving meal if working only 6 hours. So if you only work 6 hours, then you don't need to have the meal period, and that's just to be consistent with state law. Non-exempt employee meal and rest period reporting form. We're adding a form to report when an employee does not take their appropriate meal or rest break. This is a suggestion from Charter Safe, our insurance provider. And then our last one, the employee handbook acknowledgement. We're seeing that employees acknowledge the receipt of the harassment, discrimination, and retaliation prevention policy, which is listed in the handbook. So all of these are the additions to the 2023-24 state staff handbook.
Any questions for Mr. Up? Is there a motion to approve the 23-24 staff handbook?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Valabi. Mr. Motions, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Police, seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? There's silence, which means it passes unanimously. On to LCAP approval.
Okay, so this is our 2023-24 SEBA LCAP. And we went over the actions that we took at the previous hearing last Tuesday. And then we took input from parents, students, our SELPA, administrators, the entire SEBA community in determining what our goals and metrics to measure success are going to be. I also worked with Ken to develop numbers that will go along to each goal, so staffing or materials are going to use to achieve each of those goals. So that's all listed in this LCAP. I'm not going to go into detail because we did that at the hearing last time, but I'm asking the state board of directors to approve the 23-24 state LCAP this evening.
Any questions regarding our LCAP application? Okay, is there a motion to approve the LCAP application? Thank you, Dr. Portillo. Dr. Portillo motions, and is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cody seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed? Not hearing any, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay. The next item is dashboard local indicators. So as you're aware, we went over both at our retreat and at the previous meeting where we went over the LCAP. There's a dashboard that each public school in California has that measures our progress with reading, and math, and our absenteeism and whatnot. And then there's a set of local indicators that each school has to self-report. And SABA self-reported these in the fall. We approved these as a board in the fall, but there is now a rule that says that our local indicators must be approved along with the LCAP at the same meeting. So now I'm asking the board to approve these local indicators. But I do want to take a moment to go over what those local indicators are. So priority 1 talks about appropriate staffing. We had misassignments of teachers. Last year, 21-22 was 2. We got it down to 1. But hopefully we'll be at 0 this year. We worked with the one teacher who was misassigned this school year to make sure that hopefully they would be in appropriate credential next school year. The next 2 we had 0, so we're doing well there. So LEA progress in providing professional learning for teaching to the recently adopted academic standards or curriculum. We had teachers rate themselves on it. So 21-22 in ELA, they rated themselves a 3 for their adoption of the academic standards and curriculum framework. This year they rated themselves a 4. ELD was a 1, went to 2. Math went from 1 to 3. So basically what you're seeing here is people are becoming more comfortable with the adopted curriculum, which is a good thing. LEA progress in making instruction materials that are aligned to the adopted standards and their curriculum framework identified are available in all classrooms that are where it's taught. So we would also see progress there going from 3 to 4, 1 to 3, etc. So what we see throughout this is that teachers are feeling more comfortable in implementing the academic standards that are expected to be implemented by the state. Trying to find one where we actually not have one survey result that went down. So teachers are reporting that they feel more comfortable with implementation of the curriculum and teaching the academic standards. All right, relationship between school staff and families. The LEAs or SABA's progress in developing the capacity of staff to build trusting, respectful relationships with families. Last year's report is a 4. This year's report a 4. The source was the LEA parent family survey, March through May of 2022, and then again March through May of 2023.
So when you put out those parent family surveys, what's your return rate?
Usually between 90 and 110 out of maybe 425 families,
About 25%.
more or less. LEA's progress in creating welcoming environments for all families in the community. 4. Anecdotally, though, I will say that our school site council shared that they felt a little bit disconnected from the school this year. We have weekly newsletters that go out. I think what we want to do, we did this last year to start the year. We want to have a really warm orientation where there's food and people can kind of interact with each other so they know not just the staff that work here and put some names to faces, but also who the other families are. So we're really going to lean into doing that at orientation. We're also going to lean into developing a stronger presence for our school site council, because we have some really strong members, but I think they need to feel like they have more of a leadership role in school. So we're going to go over all the activities and events that we have planned for the school year and talk about how we can involve more families at a meeting in July, and then kind of repeatedly meet, to go over how what we're doing with, involving families in our activities and events monthly at our meeting. So anyways, so these are the local metrics, local indicators, and I'm asking the Sable Board of Directors to approve these local indicators this evening.
Any questions regarding the local indicators? Motion to approve the local indicators.
A motion.
Mr. Solis makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Portillo seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the local indicators are approved. Unanimous. Student teaching agreement.
Okay, so basically, SABA is going to be entering into a student teaching agreement with San Jose State University. And they asked the SABA Board of Directors to approve this agreement. And we'll have the teacher next year who will be a student teacher under the guidance of a credentialed special education director who was the teacher this year. And I'm asking the Board of Directors to approve the student teaching agreement with SJSU this evening.
Move.
So the agreement, this agreement is basically just to have that student teacher here. So it only covers one teacher.
Right now, we'll only have one teacher for it, but basically they said for SABA, I don't think we've had a student teacher from San Jose State before, so they sent me this paperwork asking that SABA will have a board approval over approving our agreement with the San Jose State University.
Have we had student teachers from other institutions?
Yes, UCSD and CSUMB.
UC,
Universities, California, Santa Cruz,
Okay.
and California State University, Monterey Bay.
great. So Mr. Valabi made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Dio makes a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Great. That brings us down to closing items.
So if it's all right with you, I propose that we don't have a meeting right before July 4th. So that would put us out to August 1st, I believe, would be the first Tuesday in August. Let's pull up our calendar really fast before we say that for our next state of board meeting. Yeah, August 1st. So we could go. We have August 1st on our board adopted calendar. It's the day before the first day of school, which is August 2nd this year for the 23-24 school year. And just want to confirm that everybody can be there. We'll have a quorum there. If not, we can push it back to the 8th.
I won't be here the 1st, so I will be here the 8th.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine for the 8th.
Good idea.
Let's just do 8th then, because it sounds like we have a quorum for sure on the 8th. And I'll make sure that Javier and Mary can join us as well. Hopefully.
And I could attend by Zoom if necessary.
I think honestly, the 8th is easier for me because then I can focus on the start of school and then focus on this meeting after.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send out an email to everybody tomorrow.
Very good. Any other items? I would like to request that we put an item on an agenda regarding the administrative team.
Okay.
Its composition.
Okay,
Sounds like we're moving forward with filling holding interviews for the vice principal position.
correct.
But I am interested in that discussion, so.
Do you have an org chart
We do.
that breaks down the duties of each of the administrators? Could
Yes.
we get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Do you want to share the org chart I shared,
Sure.
just for discussion purposes?
Yes.
Great. Anything else? Sound like we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Dr. Portillo makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Larry seconds too.
Mr. Clayton makes a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I guess.
All those hearing none, motion passes to adjourn unanimously.
6:49.
Not bad.